Okay, so today we're going to talk about email on mobile, how to use it to the maximum. First of all, who am I? Who's Kevin Brown? I'm a marketing specialist at Oxyma in Rotterdam. I have around 13 years experience in web design, web development. The last 8 years experience in email marketing, design, development, and different techniques. And now I'm focused on mobile, email on mobile, the integration between them, and innovation. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is why you should consider mobile solutions. In the last year and a half to 2 years, mobile has just taken off rapidly. There's now around 51% of all opens are on a mobile device. That's much more than desktop or webmail. So that's 51% of all marketing messages sent last year. How many marketing messages alone were sent last year? Around 838 billion marketing messages were sent in 2013, according to Forrester. Now you also have to look at the context of why you have to consider a mobile solution. We think if the user is reading a mail or a website on a desktop, they have time, they're in the office, they're at home. You can obviously add a lot more information to that mail. On a tablet, they also it's primarily used at home for browsing, for entertainment. They also have time. But on a mobile, they're usually on the go. They're in the train, they're in the pub, they're always on the way. So you have to think of shortening your message, getting short and to the point, getting your message across to the user. Okay, so the topics we're going to look at today, consider mobile solutions, is the different types of design, device recognition, app recognition, some touch functions to create the interaction, live maps in email and in web, how you use that and the next steps, some geo-targeting, and the last one is the sort of restriction between devices and apps. So first we're going to dive into the different types of design. Now, fixed design is basically what it says. It's created with a fixed width and height. As you can see, the users can't scroll. They'll need to scroll left and right, pinch in and out to be able to interact with this mail. So this is not a mobile optimized design. Skinny desktop is basically what it says. It's created about 500 pixels wide, which means it looks very skinny on a desktop, but it will automatically fit itself to the mobile device. Now, scalable desktop is created with all images, buttons, text larger in the desktop version, which means that whenever you open it on a mobile, everything is big enough to be able to interact with. The text is normally about 14 pixels, buttons all very large. It means that everything on a desktop can look quite large. Fluid desktop, fluid design, is better used for sort of text emails because it's created with percentages. It means that as the text mail gets thinner, like the one on the desktop, the tables will get longer and push that text into underneath each other. Adaptive is where we start getting more technical. As you can see, an adaptive email or adaptive design is where the structure of the HTML will actually be changed with the media query. We'll put everything underneath each other. Adaptive email is normally used there is actually a specific mobile version, but this is also if you can't leave any content out of the mail. It'll basically just restructure the HTML and put it under each other. Responsive design is just a step further than adaptive. Responsive design works in the same sort of way. It'll restructure the HTML. But the difference with this is once the HTML is restructured and opened on a mobile device, you can then select the different versions which will create your specific mobile version, leaving you with a fully optimized mobile version of your mail or website. So the different types of design, if you look, all types of design have their merits, the pros and cons, where they can be used best, apart from fixed, obviously, because that's not mobile optimized. The design types are the same for email and website, so adaptive is adaptive. It's not adaptive only for email. And you also have to think of how your users will interact with this mail or site. So what design is best for that message that you're sending. So as a Manchester United fan myself, here is a version of the website on mobile. This is a site that I would actually like to interact with, but as you can see, this is a fixed design. Everything's very small. The buttons are illegible. You can't read them. You can't click with anything without having to pinch and zoom into that website. It's just not a very good version of the design. Whereas BMW, if you go to their site, you can see that everything has been created responsive, where the menu has been collapsed so it's easier to interact with on a mobile. Buttons are bigger, text is bigger. It's a very good version of responsive design. I see these different things work for iPad. Yep, these designs work the exact same for iPad as for mobile. The difference being actually on an iPad you have a larger screen, so it's you would actually probably use a desktop version of the design for the iPad as well. So again, why consider mobile solutions? Like I said, 838 billion marketing messages were sent in 2013 alone. Only 11% of these were optimized for mobile, so that's around 92 billion mails. It's still a very small percentage of all marketing mail. And from what we know, 69% of mobile users will delete the mail if it's not optimized for mobile. So that's a huge amount. It really gives you something to think about as to why you should optimize your website or email for mobile. For more information on this or for a breakdown of these different types of design, you can find this information on our blog at toorganize.com/blog. So the next thing we're going to look at is device recognition. What is device recognition? How do you use it? So in marketing, great and effective marketing, you also have to look always at the context of where a user is, what time that person has available, location, and the environment where they are. These are things that we're going to look at later on in the presentation. But it's very important to look at the device that user is reading on. Are they reading it on a mobile, tablet, desktop? And the operating system is also very important for personalization, because obviously Android and Apple, Windows are all different types of systems and interact differently. The device recognition is basically a way of being able to change different images, links, depending on the operating system, the browser, the handset that the user has in their hand at that moment. So why is this important and how can you use this? Well, for example, we're sending a mail for a mobile phone. The desktop version of the mail, because we don't know what that user has in their what that user has in their possession for a mobile device, we'll send all options. So you have an iPhone, a Samsung Galaxy here, and a Nokia phone. But if the user opens the exact same mail on their mobile, we know what device is in their hand, so we can personalize that mail so they can have the specific information for them. Now, this information you might have in a database already, but that doesn't mean that the user couldn't have taken their SIM card and put it in a different telephone. This way, you know 100% that you're personalizing to the device they have in their hand at that moment. For app promotion, it's also very important. Here you can see, obviously, again, we don't know which version of mobile you have in your hand. Do you have an iPhone or Galaxy? Do you have an Android, Apple telephone? But open it on a mobile device and using device recognition, we can change the images and links to deep link you through to your specific version of the app. No point in giving that user 3-4 different options whenever they can only use one of them options. Again, with different sort of content differentiation that you can do, we can then say there's 6 different versions of an app, or push them to the website if you don't know they're on the desktop. And this is just using device recognition and one HTML. There's no segmentation needed. It means that if a user opens it somewhere, the version that works for them is available right away. So a summary of device recognition, it basically means you can update links and images per handset, operating system, or browser. It's a necessary functionality to create the optimal user experience. Some of the things we're going to talk about later on in the presentation, like live maps and touch functions, device recognition plays a very important part in this, as the coding for the different things is just a little bit different. And it helps improve your click-through rate due to the relevant content that you're giving to that user. So next thing we'll look at here is app recognition. Now, you see in the bottom right-hand corner, I've done an example of a little fake app to show you how this could work and what it is. This one we've seen about the context and the devices. App recognition will basically come in underneath the operating system. It means that if you have an app installed or not installed, it's changing the content on the depending on whether the app's installed or not. So this is our To Organize fake app. Don't try and download it anywhere; it's not there yet. We know that whenever you open our email, then that the app isn't installed, so we can automatically then promote that at the top of the email saying to download our app. Reading that the app is installed, we'll change that button and that link, the deep link, into the app itself. This creates a fantastic version of app and mail or web interaction. Again, a little summary of app recognition. It's updating the links and images again, depending on the app presence. It creates the interaction between mail or web and your app. And it can obviously help improve app installs. You know, if you have an app that you want to promote, you can promote it to people. Maybe they don't even know that you have an app until you push it in the mail that you're sending to them. Next thing, halfway through, we're going to look at touch functions. So what are touch functions? You have to remember that the finger is what the user has to interact with your phone, or with their phone, and with your message as well. So they can also pinch and zoom in with things, but that makes things very unhandy. This is an example of a mail where in the email on the mobile you'll have call for advice or contact us. You see a lot in emails. If I wanted to ring this number and we didn't have the touch function created, I would have to either remember the number, write it down, or copy and paste it into my telephone section. But using the touch function, you can actually create that. So if someone presses the button, it'll open it right away. They can call. And like I said, device recognition is very important in this because for Android and iPhone, the code is just a little bit different. Same with SMS. So here's SMS also price to 4,000. The problem being is I would also have to remember that. I go to the SMS function on my telephone and type in also price. Is that exactly what it was? Is it capital letters? Is it small letters? Was it 3,000? Was it 4,000? Well, with one click using the touch functionality, you can actually open the message application on pre-fill form, making it very easy for that user to interact with you. And obviously, touch to open apps, this is something that I've touched on before, speaks for itself. One touch, the app will open, and the user is where you want them to be. If you actually have a URL scheme already built into your app, you can deep link to parts within the app. So if you have a specific promotion, that you want to promote in the email, and that promotion is only in the app. By clicking, you can bring the user straight through to that part of the app. So, summary of the touch functions: it creates ease of use for the different interactions for users, and it also creates a much better chance of a click-through because you can easily interact with everything in that mail, and not just their offers or different things. So live and interactive maps. This is something that's important to show you the different variation that you can have with mobile or desktop. So this is something we see a lot in mails nowadays, where you open a mail or a website and it'll show you this is where you are at that point in time, and here's our shop. And you can also click and it'll give you a nice route through to that shop. But that click is very important, because you also have to think of your user's next step. If I click that on a desktop, what does it do? If I click it on a mobile, again, what does it do? So I think I'm opening this on a Windows desktop. You can bring the user, say, to a HTML5 landing page, which has the route already planned, it has the directions in, and in this you can even build a little print button where the user can print that out right away and go straight through to your shop. It's a useful page, but again, if the user is also on a Apple laptop, for example, from a certain version of the Apple operating system, you have a Maps application already installed, which interacts with the telephone itself. So using a device recognition tool, then you would open up that app and pre-fill that destination as well. So the user would only have to click and send the destination through to their telephone. And the next, again, if I open that mail already on my phone, well, nowadays all smartphones have navigation installed on the telephone. It's actually a pre-installed function in Maps. So with one click, you should be able to open it in your Maps application, pre-fill, and the user would only have to click start, and they can go straight through to your shop. And this works the same for iPhone as it does for Android. Again, the only difference being is the code for these two things are just a little bit different. This basically creating these 4 or 5 different versions of the map is a very short amount of work for what your user gets out of it. Your user has the optimal experience between web and the different applications and the mobile. Again, the interactive map summary. So your user's next step, you are already considering, you're thinking of where they're going to open that, when they're going to open that, what device they're on. It uses a device-specific map, so whether you're on an Apple, an Android, or a desktop. And it creates, obviously, a better user experience. And geo-targeting. So what should you be thinking of when we're talking about geo-targeting? Obviously, the weather outside, the location of where that person is, and temperature, things like this. How can you use that personalized mail or web to your benefit? Now, here's an example of one that I found from the US. Using a live feed of data, they've tracked, obviously, the weather, and it's been snowing at that point. They say 19 inches of snow means 19% discount. If it's 20 inches of snow, this could be a dynamic image which changes depending on the data feed which they have. And at the moment of opening that mail, it'll personalize it depending on the amount of discount that user is allowed. How can we use that with mobile? Well, say that a user opens a mail from BMW or a website from BMW in Rotterdam. We know the rest of the week it's going to be fantastic weather. Maybe it's not, actually, but we know it's going to be very nice weather all week. We know that the users in Rotterdam, we show them an image of a convertible BMW. We show them the weather forecast and say to plan a test drive. in your area. Say this user opens the exact same mail in Dunha, where it's going to be raining all week. You can show them a BMW in the rain, changing the content, changing the text, saying to be prepared for all conditions. So the different things in this mail that are personalized at open using geo-targeting is obviously the text, the weather forecast, the images. This makes the mail not only much more personal to the person, but also to the conditions where that person is at that moment. Because I can obviously think that if I'm looking for a BMW and I've signed in for the newsletter, it's lovely weather outside, and I receive a mail with a nice convertible BMW in it. It may be something that would trigger me a lot bit more than obviously if we sent a general picture where it's even raining. So here's actually a good version of design and development, device recognition, all in one. This is our Christmas card, our digital Christmas card, created nearly 2 years ago, a year and a half ago actually for Christmas. This is a long mail. It's a horizontal email. It's around 2,000 pixels wide, and this is the mobile version of that mail. These are both one HTML. This is the HTML is restructured with responsive design. So this is not that we've created a specific desktop version and a specific mobile version and sent them out on different segments. At the moment of opening, the user can see, depending where they are, they can see the perfect version for them. The links and images in this is created with device recognition. So you see that on the right-hand side of the desktop version, there's a video. If you click on that video, on the desktop version, it'll bring you to a high-definition version of that video with a nice themed landing page in the same theme as the email. But obviously, if you're on mobile, you don't want to be clicking through the high-definition video. We've already thought about the user's next steps. If the user clicks on our video on the mobile version, it'll bring them to the YouTube channel, which plays the video off automatically. The reason for that being, again, if you click the high definition version on mobile, your bundle is gone. Your users will not be very happy with you downloading a high definition video, and it's just a Christmas message. And the location and weather, obviously, here has been done with geo-targeting. The weather where the user is, the address where they are at that moment, but also the time, as you can see in this mail, that actually reads from the clock on the user's desktop or telephone. So if it says 2:31 on the telephone, it'll say 2:31 in the clock. You see, this is actually designed from, like I say, nearly a year and a half ago, and these things were all possible then. So there's no reason why companies shouldn't be doing these now. The geo-targeting, and a summary of this, is actually living content which is used in the mail, the weather, temperature, these sort of things. The email is personalized at the moment of open to make sure that that user gets the best version for them. And it's using the functionality of the device itself to create a better experience within the email. So using their geolocation to create all these different things. And last, but certainly not least, is the restriction of devices against apps. One of the things, this is actually for testing your emails, one of the things that we hear a lot from clients and from users is it doesn't work on Android, or I can't see it properly on Android. Well, that's a very big generalization, because it's not Android which depends for the support for these different types of design or development. It's the actual apps on the devices. So basically, a Gmail app can say it has support for it, or a Yahoo app doesn't have support for certain things, but it's not the device itself. It's not the general Android which doesn't have support for something. It's the app on that device. In general, all different devices have support for all these different things. So what do you need to think of? What do you need to take away from these sort of from this presentation. Well, first, obviously, you're going to need to consider the right type of design for the message and make sure that it's optimized. So, it doesn't matter which version of design apart from text you choose. If you consider the right one for the message and make sure that it's used, you'll definitely get a better interaction than if the email isn't created mobile optimized. Think always of your user's next step, where that is and how they're going to interact. Simple little things like the video in the mail and where they're clicking through to what version are they downloading. That can have a big impact on how your users interact with you, how they feel about you. The best type of user experience, I believe myself, is something that the user doesn't realize is happening. The journey should be made as easy as possible. So with us putting the work in means that our users are able to interact with us a lot quicker and easier. And obviously, remember to use the full functionality of your user's device. This will always lead to a better experience and better interaction. Things like the touch functionalities, device recognition, thinking of how my user is going to click, not just on desktop, but also on mobile. Your main takeaway from the presentation, again, should be mobile interactions are here. They're the present, and the future. These things that I'm showing you at the moment can be implemented today. These are things that we can all do now. This isn't something that you need to wait 6 weeks for, 6 months. And again, in 6 weeks, 6 months' time, things can all have changed and you can do even more on mobile. The mobile interactions are not going to go away. They're only going to get more technical, more in-depth. Your user is attached to their telephone. For more information, anyway, you can contact me at kevin.brown@oxyma.net. Thanks very much for your time.